and then make it move. So it may have started as a physical piece of art, and then we did a digital extension, or it was intended to be digital in the first place, but it became physical. There's a big mix or a layer of digital on top of physical, lots of exciting ideas. One of the reasons why I can do these ideas is because I have access, my students have access now to iPads. And so a few very powerful creation apps have made a huge difference for what I can teach my students. So how this works is I have little videos ready to show you. I'm going to show you them one at a time. And then after each video, I'm going to see what your questions were. So if you go to that Q&A tab, you can type in questions and I'll try to answer what I can. But I have to say, we don't have to dive super deep here. We could, if there's time, but all of the answers to your questions are going to be found in my blog. So if there's something I'm missing or if I'm going too fast, don't worry, because there are 3 things in the webinar description for this, and it is my blog, the Fugal blog, my Twitter. I share a lot of my ideas through my Twitter, and my handle's Fugal Fun. And the other one is my Some More page. Now, my Some More page is how I organize everything. I have probably 215 or more ideas right now, and I'll tell you what number idea I'm sharing as we go, so you can go back and look it up from my Some More page. And that, I think, is the easiest way to get all the resources you need. Okay, so let's take a look at my first idea. The movie I'm going to show you first is a movie about making a piece of art based on Van Gogh's Bedroom at Arles. And so it's a piece of expressionism. But the students, these are 4th graders, they learn how to draw in perspective with that painting as an inspiration. But we left a big blank spot in our painting, and you'll see why when I show you the video. So let me click around here and get that video started. So this will just be a second. Okay. Let's make it, then move it by entering your own artwork. My 4th graders made paintings in the style of Van Gogh's Bedroom. Then they posed as if they were sitting in a chair in the bedroom. Then they combined the green screen video and their art. We left a big open space in their painting and used a chair similar to Van Gogh's to create this awesome effect. We used the green screen app by Do Ink on our iPads to create the effect. We could have done the green screen effect in real time, but to have the green screen videos gives students a chance to practice resizing and placement so they can create a convincing effect. This lesson also encourages drama skills as students think of how they could express themselves in a piece of expressionism. Okay, let me stop this. All right, so it's just back to me, right? So that was idea number 184 on the some more page. And let's see, how long did this project take to complete? I've got a question. We we spent a long time on the painting because drawing in perspective took a long time for the kids to learn. And then we were so detailed in our drawing, it took a long time to paint it. But the green screen part was really quick. One thing I want to mention about why we did the green screen the way we did. The app allows you to do the green screen effect in real time if you want to, meaning that you could put the iPad on a tripod and the kids could, you can put your background image in, and then the the students can walk in front and they will look like they're entering the bedroom scene in real time. But if I did that, I would be the one doing the editing, making sure it's the right size and that the effect is really working. And I wanted the kids to have that opportunity in their hands. So we just filmed one day. While some kids were still painting, I would call them up and I'd have them film. And we didn't care about the audio. So if it was loud in the room, it didn't matter. We just turned that off after the effect was, or after the filming was put together, or the effect was made in the app. But I wanted them to have the chance to resize it and get it right and think about relative size too, because then they had to think, how big would I be if I was in the foreground as opposed to the background? The other thing, I knew I was gonna, just flew right by. Oh, I know that. They were expressing themselves in a piece of expressionism, meaning that they had to use some drama skills to show some movement while they're in the chair. And I was a little bit nervous that I'd be spending a lot of time with the kids brainstorming ideas. So what we did is while they were painting, we started brainstorming ideas and we put them all in a bucket. And so when I called them up to film, they either thought of something on their own or they just pulled from the bucket and challenged themselves to try it. And that worked really well. Okay, so I have a lot of ideas. Since I don't see any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and go to my next idea. The next idea is taking a piece of art that already exists and animating it, creating an animated GIF out of it. Now, this idea I actually saw from another artist who I met online. His name is Ian Sands. And originally I met him online, but at conferences I met him face to face. But he's a high school teacher. And he did an all call through Twitter asking if there are any elementary school art teachers who had art that their high school students could learn to animate using. And so I gave him full reign of our Artsonia gallery, and he surprised us with some animated little monsters that we had made. And I remember at the time thinking, how could I possibly teach this to my students? They were using Photoshop and it was very difficult techniques. But recently I sat down and I thought, you know what, there's a way we can do this in a free app named Brushes Redux. And so I went through the steps and made this video so you can get some ideas from how it works too. Let me get this started. So we're looking at project number 206 from my some more page. And I'll get this started. What if you can have your students make art and then make it move by turning it into an animated GIF? We'll start with a digital picture of your artwork and call it Image 1. Load it into Brushes Redux and work on it layer by layer to make the other frames. This is where we match the colors and redraw certain parts so it appears to move. If you click and hold over a color in this app, it selects that color for you and then you're ready to start painting. Each time I've made my modifications to a picture, I save it to the camera roll to become another image in my animation sequence. Once I have my 4 images in the camera roll, I upload them to ezgif.com. To make it a looping sequence, I need to copy the 3rd image and make it the 5th, copy the 2nd image and make it the 6th. I click animate and I can save my animated GIF to the camera roll and upload it to publish it online. So what will you make and then make move? Okay, so that was a really simplified way to make an animated GIF. Now, in Photoshop, you would have a tool that selects, and then you can, because it selects, you can rotate it, move it, resize it, and that makes the animation process not necessarily easier, but more opportunities to do some really creative animations. So in the Brushes Redux, you don't really get that, you don't get that select tool. So you would have to redraw whatever changes you're making. So I was thinking about some really simple, bold paintings that would be easy to match the color and just redraw. And so things like working over photos wouldn't work, things like that. But this is really accessible and I think really easy to make something that seems very complicated. That copy and paste step in the ezgif.com. That step is only because I just want a smoother loop. If they didn't copy and paste some other versions and make the sequence that way, it would still loop and it would be okay. It would just have a jump in it when it goes from the end back to the beginning. So I think sequencing is a whole nother concept to teach them and worth it for this project. So were there any questions about this one besides the things that I covered? Okay. So feel free to jump in and ask me questions. But again, that was number 206 in my Some More page, so you can look it up and see some more examples. I was playing a lot this summer with those ideas. One of my favorite ideas was to take a robot painting and then make it like blink and have like levers or like its eyes can blink, but then like its lights could flash, and that would be a really simple animation for redrawing for the kids. Let's see, we're going to go to another idea. This idea is making custom holograms. Now this is not completely original. I saw the idea of making holograms, and when I saw the idea, they talked about making a hologram viewer out of plastic. So I went ahead and used their template and made a hologram viewer, but then the actual hologram content, they led us to YouTube videos that already existed. And so as an art teacher, that wasn't as fun. I want to start from scratch. I want to be the one who creates the hologram video. So I worked on some ideas at the end of last school year and realized you can totally do this in the Do Ink animation app. And so you'll see that in my video. Let me get it started. So we're looking for this one, okay? Hi, I'm Trisha Fiegelstad. We're gonna go to the Do Ink animation app and make you spooky holograms. We're gonna begin with a flipbook type animation, in this case, of a ghost. only 2 frames long, and then set that animation up in a composition over a black background, duplicate it, and rotate it until 4 ghosts face the center. Then we make a hologram template out of plastic. Now that you've created your animation, you're ready to put your hologram viewer on it and look at your hologram. Okay, so what I was showing you, let's see if you can see my iPad. Whoops. So you start with a digital project, but then when you get this hologram happening, it almost becomes physical again because through this reflection process, it seems to enter the space. Are you seeing it? Kind of, right? Isn't that cool? It's really magical. So I was thinking, now you saw the ghost, the flipbook ghost, but you'll also see if you look up my project, it's project 195. And also if you look up project 202, you'll see the flipbook animation superhero. And so students could make themselves into a superhero and then have them lift off the iPad. So I'm excited about that idea. Okay, let's take a look at, were there questions? Yes. Yes, the kids did make the plastic viewer because if you go to my blog, you can just download the template and then you lay a sheet of transparency. Now, transparency, I just had a whole bunch of it from back in the day where we had overhead projectors. And so you lay the sheet of transparency on it and then just start cutting. But I think what would work maybe is the kind of plastic that you use for the laminator. I wonder if that would be strong enough, sturdy enough. Might need to be a little thicker than that if you can't find transparency. So all you do is cut along the lines and use a piece of tape, so it's not that hard. All right, let's go on to our next idea. The next one is making a rotoscope animation and then putting it in a mutoscope, which sounds really cool. Rotoscope in a mutoscope. But people, what? What's a rotoscope? What's a mutoscope? I get it because I just like those words and they rhyme, but they actually have meaning. Rotoscope is when you draw over every frame of a video, and a mutoscope is an old-fashioned crank, and it spins the images to make an animation. It's an old-fashioned way to view an animation, and you might have heard of it before, but you've probably seen like an old fancy metal viewer with very old video cards in it. So it's like scenes taken from a camera that when you spin it, you can see it. So there's a company named flipbookit.com, and they had these mutoscopes, they call them flipbookits, and I found that online and I thought, well, when we make a rotoscope, it'd be really cool to be able to upload it and put it in a mutoscope, and then the kids can see something that started digital in a physical format. So if that doesn't make any sense, hopefully this video will help you. So let me get this started. We're going to go to this one. Rotoscope in a mutoscope. It's project number 193. And then I will hit play. Let's get rid of me first. Let me get this back. And there we go. So at the end of that video, you saw that kids were out in the hallway cranking the mutoscopes. So we made those boxes last year, and I was thinking, okay, first of all, since they were collaborative rotoscopes, meaning that for each one of those videos, we broke it into 24 frames, and every student only had to draw one picture in a classroom. So for the first section of 5th grade, everybody just contributed one drawing. We put it together, and we're able to run it through the flipbookit.com website, where it converts your drawings into little cards. Well, actually labels that you stick on the little cards. And then you put it all together and you just get one flip book. But I wanted, so we had one for each of those 5th grade classes plus my practice one. So I had 5 to put out. But the idea of sticking it to the bulletin board only occurred to me this summer. So I started out the school year that way. Got all those, I just used T-pins in the back so they could stick to the bulletin board, and the kids were supposed to gently spin them and enjoy the whole concept of a flip book and understand, hopefully at the same time, how that collaboration worked, and saw that each of the drawings were slightly different, yet they blend together to make a movie. Such a cool physical way to represent animation. So excited about that discovery. Okay, I have more. I don't, any more questions? Just, don't feel like you can't interrupt me. Go ahead and ask me questions, whatever occurs to you. The next idea that I have for you is called mini digital storytelling, and it's a concept that's also I've been calling animated sketch notes. So it combines a physical drawing that you did in your sketchbook and an animated layer over it. So you're extending your physical drawing with some animation. I'm sure there's like a million different ways to do this, but I just kept it really simple, as if it was a line drawing with Sharpie, and then the animation part looked like a line drawing with Sharpie also. So instead of showing you how I did it, I'm going to just let you see some of my stories that I created, because I think this is a really fun way to do mini storytelling. So let me get this started. I'm looking for my mini stories. Here we are. And let me get rid of me. And let's take a look at mini digital storytelling using an animated sketchnote technique with the Do Ink animation and drawing app on the iPad. This animation plays with the concept of light as Mr. Blockhead suddenly finds himself in the dark. Huh? This animation has layered flipbook type animations in it, including a semi-transparent light beam, which calls out to Carrot Boy, who brings vitamin A to villains so they could better see their faults. And the bunny is just confused. This animation shows a not-so-alien love story and demonstrates size changes to show depth, rotation, and shifting opacity. The story continues as the running alien girl seamlessly changes from one flipbook drawing to another. This retelling of a dream uses mouth movements that were generally synced to audio, then cuts away to a scene and the audio continues.
Hey everybody, I can move my toes. Look. Aww.
And this animation is very still and uncomplicated to enhance the quiet of the story. Okay, so again, I wasn't showing you how I did it, but I was showing you the results of what I did. And if you can picture in your mind, half of what you saw was drawn already, and the other parts were interacting with it, like that firefly scene at the very end. Imagine the kids draw something like a sketchbook drawing, but then they add a digital layer to it where some part of it comes alive and starts to move. And that becomes a way for them to tell their stories. So I feel just excited about that idea. You can take it in so many different directions. So that was number 204 in my somewhere page, if I forgot to mention it. So there it is. So you can look that up, and I've got a bazillion ideas. I went bonkers with it on my blog post. The next idea is about haunted masterpieces. So I was asking myself, how would you layer video into another? I guess I just wanted to know how to make video look ghostly. And so I started to play with that idea using the Do Ink green screen app. The green screen app allows you to work with 3 layers. We saw it when you looked at the bedroom at Arl's painting where the kids entered. They did that with the green screen app by Do Ink. And so this use of it is where the kids are going to haunt paintings. And so one layer would be a masterpiece, a photo of the masterpiece, and then another layer would be them as if they are trapped in the masterpiece. They're the ghost of the masterpiece. And the way to make them the ghost is by making, in the mask tool of the app, you can just use your eraser at a varying opacity. So you can have it at like 40% or something and try to rub out your video partially. So it leaves them looking ghostly. Now, I got the idea, and then I started thinking, what are the implications for learning here? Because, you don't want to just haunt everything, but there is good reason to haunt something if you decide to use it as a way for students to learn about a piece of art, learn about who the artist is, learn about maybe where the actual painting is hanging, and then retell the story of it because of its haunting, because of the ghost that lives in it. So let's take a look and ask me questions. Let me get this ready. So, haunted masterpiece. This is haunted masterpiece is number 205 on my some more page. I'm Mrs. Fugelstad, your tour guide on a trip through our haunted masterpiece exhibit. It's a little known fact that Edvard Munch's The Scream is haunted by a less frightened, rather annoyed, ghostly figure. Nighthawks by Edward Hopper has been known to be haunted by the son of the people depicted in this 1942 painting. He appears, throwing a fit when it's late and he wants to go home. At night, Rene Magritte's surrealistic painting Time Transfixed becomes even more surreal as two little ghosts trapped inside search for a way out. Some patrons of the Des Moines Art Center have seen the ghost of the automat eerily dancing in the window in Edward Hopper's painting. Viewers of Edgar Degas' impressionistic painting, The Star, have reported a ghostly ballerina desperately trying to outshine the star of the painting. The ghost of Rene Magritte's son is known to have been taunting his father's painting, The Son of Man. Okay, so in that movie, I was thinking also about the national standards that talk about exhibiting or presenting art, and many of them want you to think about like I don't have them memorized yet, the new standards, but I do know that thinking about museum labels and how art is presented is definitely in the standards. And I was thinking this project would be a really great way to introduce those ideas to the kids. And, learning would be really fun this way. You'd be talking about changing the story and using transparency at the same time. There's one trick in there, I don't know if you caught it. It actually happened in a couple examples where, like, if you think about the ballerina by Degas, The Star, and then the little girl behind the ballerina doing her little dance. So the green screen app gives you 3 layers. So the bottom layer is the painting, The Star. The middle layer is the little girl dancing. The top layer is the ballerina with the background erased around her, which are all things you could do in the app. You can just use their masking tools and erase around it. So then you can teach the kids about overlapping and actually getting behind into the middle ground of the painting. So pretty cool stuff. Okay, so I've gone through all 6 of my ideas and I've gone over. So I probably should be wrapping it up. Let me know if you have any last call for questions. Otherwise, that haunted masterpiece was 205. You can look that up on my some more page.